What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the TG Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Gannon, and today I will be discussing the NFL quarterback tiers that the NFL released. So the NFL took a poll of 53 NFL executives from around the league and polled them on what tiers they thought each starting quarterback was on. It was some of them was of a controversy, and I'm just going to cover that today. So for the tier 1, they defined a tier 1 quarterback as a quarterback that can carry his team each and every week. The team wins because of this quarterback, and the quarterback expertly handles pure passing situations. So what the league executives voted on for Tier 1 was Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, Andrew Luck, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, and Russell Wilson. And I really agree on all of these. Except I would argue Ben Roethlisberger is a Tier 2 quarterback at this stage of his career. But Aaron Rodgers, arguably the most talented quarterback ever. His only downfall is his ability to get along with head coaches and to lead a team, but talent-wise, he's definitely a Tier 1 quarterback. Tom Brady, he's pretty much widely regarded as the GOAT now. Really, you can't make a case for him not being in Tier 1. Winning a Super Bowl this past season, he's looking like he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Drew Brees, same case as Brady, basically undoubtedly a first-ballot Hall of Famer at this point in his career. He's gonna have a great season, I believe. This may be his last season, but he still has Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas. He still has that whole crew around him, and I expect them to make a deep run in the playoffs. Then they voted Patrick Mahomes, and this is in order. So they put Aaron Rodgers 1, Tom Brady 2, Drew Brees 3, Patrick Mahomes 4. I would have had Patrick Mahomes probably ahead of. I would have had Brady 1, Mahomes 2, Rodgers 3, Brees 4, and then Luck, Rivers, Wilson, then Big Ben. So for Mahomes, you can't really argue against him. He had an all-time, basically rookie season last year. I know it was the second year, but it was his rookie season in terms of starting. His Tyreek Hill back, Travis Kelce. He lost Kareem Hunt, but I don't think that'll be too big of an issue. They're going to be right in the thick of things in the AFC with him leading the way. Andrew Luck, also. Really, this was a no-brainer for a Tier 1 quarterback. He finally got over his injury bug last year. They got him an O-line and a solid defense and a running game, and you saw what he could do. He led him in the second half of the season. Phillip Rivers, he's basically the same luck as Brees and Brady. In Rodgers, he's undoubtedly a future first-ballot Hall of Famer at this point in his career. All he needs is that Super Bowl that he's been chasing for so long, and they have one of the best teams. If they get Melvin Gordon back before the start of the regular season, this is a team that can hang with anyone. Then they have Ben Roethlisberger. I don't really see why I would rather have Ben Roethlisberger at this point in his career in a Tier 2 because I haven't seen him without a Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown in some time. Those are two exceptional talents, and you could argue that they were part of the main reason for his success. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with them putting him in a Tier 1, but I would have probably had Russell Wilson ahead of him. And then speaking of Russell Wilson, I feel like he's just so underrated in terms of who he is as a quarterback. I feel like he's led that Seahawks team despite just being chased around with a putrid offensive line and below average receiving core for the last couple seasons, and he's consistently brought them to the postseason. He's just spectacular in the way he evades the rush and able to put the passes on the money. And yeah, I wouldn't doubt against him having another great season. And honestly, I don't think Seattle's going to make the playoffs this year. I think because the 49ers and the Rams are just going to be as good or if not better as they were last season. But yeah, I still think he's going to have a really good year. And then going into the Tier 2 quarterbacks, the poll define a Tier 2 quarterback as they can carry the team sometimes, but not as consistently as a Tier 1 quarterback, and that they can handle pure passing situations and doses or possess other dimensions that are special, but they still have a hole or two in their game. And they put these as Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Matthew Stafford, Deshaun Watson, Jared Goff, and Baker Mayfield. Like I said, I would have put Big Ben in here especially because he's had such talent around him that these past couple seasons that it's hard to argue if he's truly on the level of those other guys on the first year. But I pretty much agree with all these, except they put Cam Newton in the Tier 3. I would have had Cam Newton in the second one because I believe he gets more criticism than he deserves at this point in his career. And I think Cam Newton's a really good quarterback, but he just gets more criticism than he deserves with Kyle Shanahan. But he hasn't had Matt Ryan, I think, Kyle Shanahan these past couple seasons. But I feel like if he has A couple years ago, he would have been in the tier 1, but I feel like I feel like people have realized that without a true special offensive coordinator or coach in it with him, he's not on that level of a tier 1. And then Carson Wentz. If not for injury issues, Carson Wentz would be a tier 1 quarterback in my opinion, and that's just the one hole in his game is his ability to stay healthy. But nothing much there. Nothing else much there. I feel like he's gonna have a really good year if he stays healthy, and he has to prove that the Eagles are right to choose him over Nick Foles. And they had Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford at this point in his career, you know what you're gonna get pretty much pretty inconsistent play with some really good high highs and some pretty low lows. Yeah, I feel like he's just been let down as a quarterback by his franchise. He had Megatron early in his career, but other than that, he hasn't had a true go-to number 1 wideout, and his defense and running game have just been terrible ever since he's been there. They've made the playoffs, I believe, once or twice. Haven't done much, but I wouldn't put that on him. It's just that he's not as consistent as they would like, but he could win a Super Bowl if they put the right pieces around him. Then they had Deshaun Watson. He's another quarterback, I believe, who could make the jump to tier 1 this season. He took a step back after his phenomenal rookie season after the ACL injury, but I believe he could have a bounce back year, especially because their defense is going to allow them a lot of opportunities to score with Watt and Clowney on that defensive line. But yeah, I feel like Deshaun Watson, out of all these two, I would bet that Wentz and Watson have the best case of making it to tier 1 next season. Then they had Jared Goff. I feel like Jared Goff is the definition of a tier 2 quarterback at this stage of his career. He's good enough to win a Super Bowl, as you saw last year, making it to the Super Bowl, but he needs a lot of talent around him and a great defense, which they have with Aaron Donald, and they have one of the best offensive coaches in the league with Sean McVay. So yeah, I feel like Jared Goff is right where he should be. And they put Baker Mayfield. I was surprised they put Baker Mayfield that high early on. I thought they would have put him as a tier 3 quarterback. And so they're saying Baker's already better than Cam at this point in his career. If I would just add Cam on to tier 2, I wouldn't even put Baker below. But yeah, I think Baker is going to be a tier 2 quarterback for the rest of his career, maybe a lower tier 1. But I think he just needs too much talent around him to win. He doesn't have that. I don't know, he just doesn't have that ability, I feel like, to lead a team without any talent. Like, we've seen Tom Brady lead with Chris Hogan, a broken down Gronk, and win a Super Bowl, and I just don't think Baker Mayfield has that in him at this point in his career. Then going to the tier 3 quarterbacks, we have a tier 3 quarterback who is a legitimate starter but needs a heavy run game he needs a heavier running game and or defense to win, and that a lower volume passing offense would make their job easier. They had Cam Newton, Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, Nick Foles, Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr, Joe Flacco, Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston, Eli Manning, Mitch Trubisky, Marcus Mariota, and Sam Darnold. Out of all these, I would have definitely thought that they would have put Cam Newton, as I said before, in tier 2. I just feel like he gets more criticism than he deserves. And I feel like Jimmy Garoppolo coming back from his injury last season, I feel like he's going to make the jump up to tier 2. He obviously didn't do that much, but I would put that more on the injury and that the Niners weren't that good last year as a whole. I feel like this year they're going to make a splash. I feel like they're going to make a push for the NFC wildcard. And that the Panthers, I feel like Cam Newton, hopefully he can get healthy, but if he does, I feel like he's going to have a bounce back year. But other than that, I feel like Kirk Cousins had a disappointing year last year in Minnesota, but he needs to prove that he's worth that fully guaranteed contract, the first in NFL history. Dak Prescott, this is the problem with paying Dak, and Jerry Jones is realizing at the moment, is that I feel like they definitely know he's a tier 3 quarterback, but they just don't want to admit it because they need to show it to the fan base that, hey, this is our guy. But I really don't think they believe he's good enough. Nick Foles, I feel like he's definitely a tier 3 quarterback. If you say he's tier 2, I feel like you're just buying the propaganda that the Philadelphia Eagles are selling you. He had a great organization around him, and I feel like he's going to have it a lot tougher in Jacksonville, where the structure isn't as strong around him. Derek Carr, hopefully he has a bounce back year this year in his second year under John Gruden, but it's time for Derek Carr to show up because they're going to Vegas next year, and if they don't believe he's the man, they're going to cut ties and draft another quarterback. Joe Flacco hasn't really discovered any of that magic since 2011, I believe, when they won the Super Bowl. He's just struggled since then, but he got that huge deal, and it's just been, kind of downhill from there. But hopefully he can have a bounce back year. And in Denver, he doesn't have to deal with the Lamar Jackson roaming over his head scenario. So yeah, maybe it's a bounce back year, but I don't see it happening. Andy Dalton, another basically, I feel like he's in the same boat as Dak Prescott. Maybe I would say Dak's more talented, but Andy's in that same boat where they're sold to the fan bases as franchise quarterbacks, but I don't even think the organizations believe they truly are. I think Joe Flacco, like Dak Prescott, has Amari Cooper and Zeke. Andy Dalton has AJ Green, but AJ Green's going to be out for the first couple of games of the season, so he's going to see what life without having one of the top wideouts is like. Next on the list was Jameis Winston. Jameis, I really don't know what to think of him at this point in his career because I feel like at his peak he would be a tier 2 quarterback, but his injury, not his injury issues, his decision making on and off the field make him a tier 3 quarterback. He just needs more consistency and maybe he could get up to that tier 2 level. Eli Manning definitely was maybe a tier 1 quarterback in his prime, but now he's definitely a tier 3. He probably has only this last season to prove himself as a starter, and then Daniel Jones is going to take over. But if he starts off slow, I wouldn't be surprised one bit to see Daniel Jones out there. Next on the list for tier 3 was Mitch Trubisky. I feel like Mitch Trubisky is actually better than people give him credit is. I feel like just because his defense is so fantastic with Khalil Mack on the D-line that he doesn't have the credit he deserves, but he led them to the playoffs last year, and for me, you can't. It says in the description they need a heavier running game and or defense to win. He obviously has a defense, so unless he has crazy stats, I don't think people will give him the credit, but I feel like he could definitely get up to that tier 2 quarterback tier in the future. Then Marcus Mariota and Sam Darnold. I definitely think Sam Darnold has the potential to get to a tier 2 quarterback. I don't think it'll be this year. I think it'll be next season he gets to that level. I think he still needs more maturing to do. And then Marcus Mariota, he's been a disappointment with his injury issues. Hasn't been as dynamic as he was at Oregon, and I feel like if he doesn't have that signature breakout year, I feel like the Titans could be looking to move on from him. And then lastly, the tier 4 quarterbacks, they could be unproven with some upside or a veteran who's best suited as a backup. They had in order Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Case Keenum, and Josh Rosen. I disagree with this list in terms of order. I would definitely have put Rosen behind Lamar, but ahead of Allen, Fitzpatrick, and Keenum. I feel like Lamar Jackson's going to make that jump to tier 3 quarterback. He's shown there's been reports he's made huge strides in the offseason. I believe it. He's going to be vying for the division title with the Steelers and the Browns, but yeah, he's a running quarterback. He's as good as it gets. Josh Allen, strong arm, not that accurate. I really don't see franchise quarterback with him. I feel like accuracy is just too important in this day and age. You see the best quarterbacks aren't always the biggest arms, but they have the most accuracy, i.e. Tom Brady, Drew Brees. Patrick Mahomes obviously has the big arm, but he's accurate. Aaron Rodgers is on the money. So yeah, I just don't see him making that many strides this year. Ryan Fitzpatrick basically is proven he's as much upside as a backup will have. I feel like he eventually gets replaced by Josh Rosen. I feel like it would be a mistake for them to start Fitzpatrick over Rosen, considering Rosen has the upside. But yeah, I feel like Fitzpatrick's good for one magical game a year, and that's it at this point in his career. Then Case Keenum disappointed in Denver this year. I feel like we got fool's gold with Case Keenum in Minnesota with all those great wide receivers and Diggs and Thielen and their great defense. I wouldn't expect much of Case Keenum. I think who we got before Minnesota, Case Keenum was who we actually have, and I wouldn't expect much. I think he's a tier 4 quarterback. And then Josh Rosen, I feel like Josh Rosen should be higher on this list. I don't think he's the worst potential starting quarterback in the NFL, but his terrible situation in Arizona was pretty detrimental to his progression, and he's in another dysfunctional organization in Miami. If they don't start him week 1, I feel like it would be a really grave mistake on their part, considering he is the future and they know Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't franchise material. So yeah, so that's my analysis and discussion of the NFL tiers of quarterbacks that was released. 53 NFL executives were polled on the tiers of quarterbacks and who belongs in each tier from 1 through 4. And that's my analysis. That'll be it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening to the TG Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Ganem. See you next time.